Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it and give this video a like.
Podcast below in the description. Go check it out as well.
Video brought to you by our friends at wineaccess.com/ham. Get 20% off.
Yep. Wineaccess.com/ham. Send a gift today. 20% off on us. Wineaccess.com/ham.
Satisfaction guaranteed. Peter King had this in his in one of his articles, or in his article this morning. He said, I think the over-under on Jimmy Garoppolo starting 2021 is 10 games. So he thinks Jimmy will start more than 10 games. Give me the over. Over-under 10 starts for Jimmy Garoppolo. My gut reaction, John, was under. I mean, every time Kyle Shanahan talks about him, he says, Jimmy's only started one full season, really, when you think about it. And he's right.
He's not lying.
He's 1,000% right. So how can I bet on this guy on the over? And I think there's a chance Trey Lance is ready faster than we think.
Yeah, to me, there's just no way you could bet on the over, given that he's been in the league since 2014. Now, granted, he sat behind Brady, but he's had one season where he started more than 10 games, and that was the Super Bowl year. Every other game, every other season, even the trade year, he started the last 5 games. Next year, he started 3 games. He tears ACL. Then he had a Super Bowl year. The last year, he had 17 million injuries. Now, there is a path if he stays healthy, which would clearly be a Jimmy Garoppolo outlier season. And I was someone who was adamant he was gone. Now, I also assumed the whole time they were taking Justin Fields, not Mac Jones, but also even factored in if they take Mac Jones. If they took Justin Fields or they took Mac Jones, I do think it would have been harder to keep Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, obviously, if they had Mac Jones, what do the Patriots have? And it would have made more sense. Like, Patriots ain't trading for Jimmy when they have Mac Jones. But I just think it would have been very difficult for those two guys not to be the starter. It would have been hard for the fan base to watch. It's a kind of an easy sell for a guy that no one has even seen. So it's like, oh, he's a project. You just say that, everyone agrees. It's like, I bet he is. Right? It's just kind of universally agreed upon. Total project.
That Mel Kiper told us on this podcast.
Yeah, and he is. I mean, in the history of the league, like a guy like him is always sitting for years. If they are playing well and Jimmy is in there, like, I just see I have a hard time seeing them do like what Brian Flores did last year with Tua, right? Because could you see them just benching Jimmy if they're winning? Now, and especially if Jimmy remember Fitz was playing well.
Yeah, I'm
right?
looking at Jimmy as the Fitz in this conversation.
Yes. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah,
but you're
saying if
Fitz
Jimmy's playing like Fitz, yeah, but then they went back to Fitz.
I know, but they just benched Fitz. And remember, Fitz was like, I think went on a show or whatever, maybe just came out and was like, yeah, I was devastated. It was hard. Now, I'm not saying that was unique. He's a bridge quarterback. But part of it, like, they were winning. Remember, Fitz came to the fucking San Francisco and looked like Dan Marino.
I do remember.
He was just good. He was clearly the best quarterback.
I would be surprised to see that. But part of that is like,
just an all-out quarterback switch mid-season when they were like 8-2.
Well, part of what made it crazy is that Tua came in and then Tua didn't look great. I think part of the reason you do that, you think, like if you told me right now Kyle Shanahan does that week 7, let's just make an arbitrary. I'd go,
but factor in their 6-1 or something.
Yeah, I'd go, well, Trey Lance must be looking incredible, right? If Trey Lance then rolled out and was 80 yards or 93 yards passing in his first game, I'd go.
But even take it back a step. Can you envision if they're 7-2, like mid-season or whatever, I guess the midpoint is now, 8-9 games. Could you envision them doing something like that if it was going really well? I have a hard time.
It'd be harder. I mean, I think Jimmy's probably in a different place
than
than
Jimmy playing well, not like the team doing well and Jimmy being so-so.
Yeah, I think part of it, right, is Garoppolo's in a different place than Fitzpatrick. Like we have plenty of Fitzpatrick data, right, to know where the ceiling is and kind of what he is. Kyle could justify Jimmy. This is only the second time I've ever gotten Jimmy like this, and the last time I got him like this, we went to the Super Bowl. Ryan Fitzpatrick's never started 16 games, and his team went to the Super Bowl, right, based on, in part, the way he was playing. So you're right. That is different. It would make it harder to envision them doing that. To me, the other difference, though, is I don't think they would do it. It felt like the Dolphins did it as like a let's see what we got here.
Because they were kind of found money on being that good.
And maybe
they didn't think they were going to be.
Maybe they were going to start Tua from the get-go, and he wasn't physically ready to do it.
Well, that's part of it. He was injured. I do think you could also if you Fitz would have been your starter the whole year, maybe you end up with 11 wins. You're in the playoffs. Because remember, part of them, they they controlled their own destiny, and that they stumbled down the stretch a little bit because Tua wasn't as good.
I remember part of our conversation at the time, which was, are you going to pull an Arizona Cardinals and trade your first-round pick to draft another quarterback in the first round because you have Houston's pick, and Houston's bad. So you're going to have the chance to replace Tua, but you can't go through the whole season without knowing if Tua's good enough or not, right? I think that was part of what I thought and what we talked
good point.
about. I don't know if
there were more variables at play. It was a unique situation.
But to answer your original question, you're right. It would be surprising if the Niners are 6-1 and they replace Jimmy Garoppolo with Trey Lance. I couldn't see them doing that.
Yeah. The only way I could see is if someone was injured and they traded him.
Oh, if they like Trey's ready, Jimmy's probably a little better right now, but Trey's ready, and we can get a second round pick.
Jimmy was playing well, and even if they get like a third, and they were just like, let's do it.
Get a third back for Trey.
Yeah, something like that.
It's not out of the realm of possibility.
I would take the under, but I can see a scenario where he hits the over. Now, obviously, like it would be an outlier health. Like he gets hurt. That's part of it. Because if they're playing well and he's starting, I just think they're just going to keep going with it. Like you said, part of it is someone DM'd me this a while back. Like you envision a scenario where Trey Lance is just lighting it up in practice and the media is talking about it. I'm like, well, the thing that you don't realize, and most people wouldn't unless you on our side, once the season starts, like training camp practices, not before Corona, you could just go watch the whole thing. That is not how the season is. Like Matt Mayoko gets 15 minutes of practice. Him, Barrows, and all those guys, they do not get to watch the entire practice during the season. You don't know. The only people that knew Mahomes was killing it were like Andy and Veach and the team. Like the media wasn't out there being like,
how about the Chiefs.com reporter? What do they do with that person? Does that person stay out there, or does that person?
It probably depends how well he's liked by the group. It's probably a slippery slope. But you know what I'm saying? Like it's the takes in training camp when everyone just feels like we know what's going on. That is not the way the season is.
And the NFL, and there's less reps for that guy too, even if everybody was out there, right?
Yeah, but he could even be like, part of it was like Mahomes was running the scout team and just destroying their defense. Now, remember back then their defense wasn't as good as it's become, but the point is it was clear, holy shit.
Yeah. And he didn't start until week 17.
I wonder if you're Roger, 17. Like, would, add 15 minutes and give the media 30 minutes just to create a little more buzz, maybe get a couple videos. I don't think it's crazy. Now, I think it's where the teams really push back on, like, the training camp.
Would be like, you have to do 11 on 11 live for 15 minutes in front of the media.
Yeah, part of training camp, right, is just you're not doing schemes. You're just running your play. You're just doing generic stuff. I mean, in the season, you're implementing, like, double passes on the punt and stuff. Right. It's like, whoa, you should have seen this shit they ran. Yeah. Belichick's like, doot, doot, doot.
It's not in your best interest, but
no. It's worked. I'd say the NFL is working fine with their setup.
I'll tell you this. If Trey Lance is in practice after everyone's left and he looks better than Jimmy, word will get out.
Yes.
Somebody will say something to somebody.
One big difference, too, is they loved Alex Smith, and they were not going to try to discredit Alex Smith. Even though, like, I think there were rumblings like this kid's pretty special, but they were not trying to be like, he's just going to kick him to the curb. I don't know if the Niners will feel as obligated with Jimmy.
They may not, but there still is the trade value that you're talking about.
Yeah, but if his play is speaking for itself, why does it matter?
Well, you don't want to give any hint that, like, we're looking for a reason to just kind of,
that's probably true.
But to your point, your actions might just speak for themselves.
Yeah.